in this ag transformation from the beginning. So I'm here to help with Dr. Graywall with any historical perspective he may need. So it's a pleasure to be with you all this afternoon.
Great. I'm gonna ask you to, because I
need all that, right?
Yeah, okay. in a moment, because we've just gone live here and we've got a couple other tech issues I think we're going to get straightened out, but stand by. Nice to have you with us.
We also have their document, so you don't need this one. Okay, great.
Because we can all pull that up.
Yeah, maybe,
She could share it too if that works.
Pat, can you share our presentation from your end?
I can happily do that.
Okay, that'd be great.
Make you a co-host right now.
Get to where I can share my screen. Oops.
We take this.
Yes, please.
There we go. I can share now. So there we go.
Thank you for sharing.
My pleasure. It beats you having to look at my face the whole time. So.
All right, well, with that, we better actually get started. And welcome now to guests from the Vermont State Colleges. We have Dr. Parwinder Graywall, who is the new president of Vermont State University, with us in person, and Catherine Lavoisier from the Chancellor's Office on the side, and then Pat Moulton, who's joining us remotely, who is maybe in Randolph, not sure where you are, but works in or out of Randolph anyway.
Well, I'm in Lyndonville, so that's right.
Lyndonville today, okay, all right, good. And maybe I'm a little outdated in my information, but we'll hear more about where you usually are and what you do in a moment or two. But we'll just quickly introduce ourselves, and then we'll let you go. I'm David Durfee. I'm the chair of the committee, and I represent Shaftesbury, Sunderland, and Glastonbury down in Bennington County. Should we go around?
I'm Esme Cole. I represent Windsor 6 and Hartford.
Mike Rice, Bennington Rutland District, Danby, Dorset, Landgrove, Mount Tabor, and Peru.
Josie Levitt, Grand Isle Chittenden, which is all of Grand Isle County, and West Milton.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
I'm
you.
David Templeman from Orleans 3. That includes Barton, Brownington, and Westmore.
Very nice to meet you.
You too, sir.
Yeah.
Charles Wilson, Caledonia 3, which is Lyndonville, Sheffield, Wheelock, Sutton, and Newark.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Jed Lipsky, represent Lamoille 1, Stowe.
Okay, nice to meet you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
We're honored to have you.
We have Representative O'Brien on Zoom.
Here I am. Representative John O'Brien, home with COVID. I represent Royalton and my hometown of Tunbridge.
Who represents COVID?
And we have Laura Rich here running the meeting for us. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation, and so nice to meet you all. First of all, I appreciate all that you do. So much work, so much listening that you have to do, and then do some homework on everything that you have to, deal with. It is, I know, a lot of work, and it's a great service that you're doing. And we've been very happy with what you have done for the state colleges in general. Today, my charge here is to share with you our agriculture programs and what we have done with them over the last 2 years or so. Basically, all the agriculture programs, we are rebranding them to anchor them more in a way that they provide more practical experiences for our students and kind of anchored in workforce development, more so than just the academic experience. My name is Parwinder Graywall. I'm the president for New Vermont State University, but currently also serve as president for Vermont Technical College, Castleton University, and Northern Vermont University. So in July, we will have one university moving forward. Pat is going to help me move the slides, but also she is here because she has done much of the transformation work related to the agriculture program. Now it will land with me, so I would be the one moving it forward from here on out. So this re-envisioning of the agriculture program was the need in Vermont, as Vermont agriculture has changed over time due to the lot more emphasis on dairy. Now we have emphasis on other aspects of the agriculture business as well. So there has been extensive stakeholder engagement over the last year and a half that Pat Morton led the effort with a whole number of experts that they engaged, learned from them, had many meetings, did some surveys, and collected all this information. And together they went through several envisioning sessions to see how they could rebrand the agriculture program at Vermont Tech. And that is what I will share with you as to what they figured it would look like and what we'll focus on moving forward. So the leadership team included not only Pat Morton, who was the overall leader for this program, but Louise Calderwood, Regina Wiedler, and Alan Kaler. They were the kind of leadership team for this whole project. Then they had a steering committee that included all these experts and different types of stakeholders in it. They, as I said, worked for many, many hours, a lot of good sessions, and I think the COVID might have provided a good avenue for them to meet more quickly and more often because they didn't need to travel during that time. But with all of that, they issued a report in last June 2021. What they came up with, we have made a lot of progress on that report, what they recommended. So we have already acquired some funding. We have developed a new curriculum for the new program that they recommended. And we have also developed a meat cutting training lab, which we are now in the process of actually building. We are also hiring new staff for that. And we are reimagining the farm that we have at VTC already so that it could be tailored to where the program will be moving forward. Pretty much all recommendations we have addressed, and we are focusing on further to finish up what they have proposed. The new program would be well aligned with Vermont Agriculture and Food System Strategic Plan, that is a 10-year strategic plan for the state of Vermont. And that, I believe, was led by Alan Kaler. And this program is very much aligned to the goals of that, so that we are all kind of working together and furthering Vermont agriculture. Our plan is to, as I said in the beginning, provide more hands-on learning to our students who would be the future farmers or food system entrepreneurs, business people, or work for the businesses moving forward. The new program, the committee recommended several components to this. The first and foremost is to establish a center for agriculture and food entrepreneurship. With the center, there will be a new degree created, which is an associate degree in agriculture and food entrepreneurship, and also provide non-credit continuing education for anybody who is looking for just a certificate or some enhance their skills to be more valuable or find a job in this particular industry. We are, as I said a little bit earlier, the college farm would also be re-envisioned, and we are upgrading the assets of that so that it will serve the needs of the new program. That's the change that we need to create. The new degree that we are establishing, it will have two components. It will have one concentration focus on the dairy component, dairy and the animal side. The other one would be more on food entrepreneurship, the business of agriculture. And there would be additional components for the non-credit side that will be for anybody who just want to come in for, a workshop and or a month or a 2-week certificate program or such. We would maintain what has worked well in the past in this program. So it's not kind of throwing away everything and starting all new. We will keep all those components in it, including the 2+2 program that we have with UVM. So where students after this associate degree could matriculate to UVM and get their degree, undergraduate degree, if they so desire. There will be expanded offerings in the areas that the committee has recommended. So Meat Lab is an important new component that will be added to this. We do have courses in meat cutting and that particular area, but we don't have availability of the commercial places where we can offer the training. So that's why a Meat Lab is essential for us so that we can constantly or more quickly train future professionals. The new university is very much focused on preparing our students with industry relevant credentials. And this program will be no different. So the students that will be part of this program, they will get experiences and also work towards certification so that they can be the professionals that people would want to hire. The program is going to be set up in a way that first year students would be mainly focused on learning about the agricultural business, learning about the intricacies of that from the academic side. But year 2, in the first semester, they will do introductory internship so that it prepares them for real work, but still have to finish some courses. Last semester is exclusively focused on practical learning with full-fledged internship that will be on a farm. And that will also be set up in a way that on a farm or a business, they could be working with a business as well. That the student will be then expected to solve some local problem for that business or whatever they are engaged in, so that it's beneficial to that person or business that provides internship and to the student as well. So faculty will stay engaged with that so that student accomplishes some real work in addition to gaining the skills, solve some problem as well. That's kind of the critical component. As I mentioned earlier, our BTC farm need to be also upgraded. These are different components that we have already on the farm. So we will retool it, repackage it to enable it as a learning lab for the students that will come for this program. This is what we have already accomplished since the report came out. The meat cutting lab, the curriculum around it, we have already, have the designs and set up that particular process. We are now working with engineers to see what will it cost exactly to set up the meat lab. And we did receive $387,000 from the legislature last year. So we appreciate your help on that in terms of setting up the meat lab. The cost of the meat lab is going to be close to 1.3 million, but we are working towards that goal, finding institutional dollars or grants wherever we can find them. We did succeed in getting a $2.4 million grant from federal government, and that grant is not exclusively for the meat lab, but for the meat lab, we did include the meat lab director. They will be funded for next 3 years on that grant because we couldn't include the facilities piece in this particular grant. We will also hire the center director from this grant that we received. We would have one internship coordinator also, because moving forward, the internship becomes the key piece of the new program, and we need to work with the businesses and farmers who would enable that. So there would be a person who will place the students in the internship sites wherever they will choose or wherever the students will get the internship. That's pretty much all I wanted to share. And I know Pat Morton would have a lot more to say because she's been there longer than I have. But we will answer your questions and we'll team tag answering those if I can't answer anything.
Okay, great. Thank you. And well, before we jump to Pat, are there any questions so far? Yes, Representative Levitt.
My question is, how are the farms and businesses chosen that participate in your program?
You mean for the internships and so on? Yeah. So Pat, maybe you can answer that. You have already gotten a hold of like 50 or so.
Yes, we did an initial survey of farms and businesses to determine who might be interested in hosting. And we have at least 50 who have had a preliminary indication of interest. And part of the role of the internship coordinator is to really cement those relationships and work with additional employers to set up these internship sites, develop internship agreements. But basically, we will choose amongst the interested and then also assure that it is going to provide the students with the opportunity that they need, that it's on a farm or in a business that is going to make sure that they're engaged in problem solving, as Dr. Graywall indicated, and not that it's going to be the internship like, hey, go get my coffee and pick up my dry cleaning. That's not the point. The point is to provide real hands-on applied education and problem solving. So there will be this coordinator who will screen, if you will, and assist in getting those employers set up to host students and students ready to be engaging and providing value to those employers.
Do you have any sites identified in Grand Isle County?
I'd have to go back and look at my list, but I'm certain we could use some site development because the hope is to be able to place students either near their home for a summer intern or during the school year in their second year, or if they can't be at home, perhaps they can stay at one of the campuses of the Vermont State University or where there's a farmer that might have on-farm housing available. But I'd have to look at my list, Representative, but I'm sure we're ready and willing to consider additional sites.
Cool. We've got a few other questions right now, but Pat, could you just introduce yourself to the committee? And
thank you. Apologize. For the record, I am Pat Moulton, and I'm Executive Director of Workforce for the Vermont State Colleges. Mine is a new position designed to help elevate the importance of workforce development within the Vermont State Colleges, and particularly Vermont State University and Community College of Vermont. So my role is to go out and work with employers and bring opportunities. And as Dr. Graywall said, this is what I like to refer to as one of my legacy projects from Vermont Tech, having served as president for the last 5+ years. But delighted to have Dr. Graywall here, particularly given his agricultural resume and background. So it's good synergy.
Okay, well, thank you for being here, and I'm going to move around to some other questions, and I think folks can feel free to direct them in general to the head of the table, and Pat, you can jump in, or Dr. Graywall, you can answer. Representative Wilson.
I have to leave, see the Lieutenant Governor, so thank you, everybody. I have an appointment.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for listening. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Representative Rice?
Yeah, I'm wondering if you could just talk through the economics of it. So what cost of attendance for these programs, and then also if there's any structure for compensation for the internships.
Right, so there are two components in this in terms of the education. One is the academic degree, that's a 2-year program. The other piece is continuing education, short-term things. The short-term, some of those we have been already offering, like the lowest would be $400 for I think a day or two workshop for meat cutters and so on. Whereas we have envisioned our tuition. We have reduced our tuition for all students at the university, for the new university from this coming fall. It will be less than $10,000 tuition for 1 full year. So if they do a 2-year program, the basic tuition that they will incur is about $20,000. Then on the top of that, we do offer some scholarships. We have tailored our scholarships to need-based. If there is a need, the FAFSA shows the need of the student, we will add institutional scholarships on the top of that. I would just say that until Pat, if you want to add anything to that.
No, I think you covered the cost, and the intent, Representative, is to make sure these are paid internship opportunities for students. If they're not paid, they would be for credit. But the hope is that these are paid because these are intended to be summer opportunities, and most of our students need to be working in the summertime. So that's the hope and expectation.
And then summer, and then also a full semester.
And yes, and during the semester, absolutely, yes.
Thanks.
Other questions? Yes, Representative Lipsky.
I apologize if I'm showing my ignorance, but if you're at a meat cutting lab, is that product that you're working on in the lab able to be part of a food chain for human consumption?
Good point. Pat, I'll let you answer that.
Sure, certainly. Well, one of the aspects of the farm reimagining, as Dr. Graywall has talked about, is to look at grazing beef. And we are fortunate that we have access to slaughterhouses nearby the Randolph campus so that we can bring those potentially beef carcass or carcass we get from elsewhere into the lab for what are going to be meat cutting, fine meat cutting skills, identifying the best cuts, understanding how meats could be smoked, processed, whatever the case might be. And the intent is that we can then sell that product to Sodexo for serving in the dining hall, or even potentially sell out of the lab for faculty or staff or students. It will be a USDA grade facility. So we are able to do that, but it's all going to depend on volume. But that is the intent, is to make use of the actual resulting product, because we will have, the lab director also needs to be a well-skilled butcher, his or herself. So that is the plan.
I sort of feel compelled to mention that we took some testimony yesterday from the Agency of Agriculture recommending that we change in statute the language that uses the expression meat cutting to meat processing.
Yes. And
it was specific in the licensing section, but just wanted to mention that because, well, you've been talking, and I think we discussed earlier about the meat cutting lab, but just so you know, that's out there.
Correct.
Yeah,
So,
and we've interchanged meat processing with meat cutting.
Okay.
Got to get consistent on that ourselves. Thank you.
yeah, the degree component of that will actually focus on meat processing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, Representative Cole.
We've also had conversations about an inspector needing to be present from start to finish in the entire sort of butchering process, or maybe, I don't know what the right terminology would be there, but I'm wondering how that, and the potential of changing that rule, but I'm wondering how that will affect this new institution.
Pat, you can jump in. My thought would be the director that we will hire would supervise the entire student experience. Their main focus is this lab.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be there for students' entire experience.
Well,
Great.
and I do think, again, having proximity to slaughter facilities within a reasonable drive, I imagine there'll be field trips and opportunities to be exposed to that part, being on the kill floor. As I love these terms, they make me shiver, but it is what it is. But so I do see those opportunities presenting, but the main focus is going to be on the meat processing aspect, the fine knife skills, the identification of cuts, the ability to get that proper cut, how to best utilize the full aspect of the animal, whatever animal it may be, beef, pig, goat even. So but yes, I imagine that would be an important exposure for those students to understand, especially as we move towards more humane meat processing and meat raising, animal raising for slaughter. That's a critical component.
Representative O'Brien has been waiting, I think, the question.
Thank you, Chair. I wonder, when I look at the rebranding and revisioning with food systems, that it looks like you put a lot of thought and done a great job on the sort of farming side, agricultural side, raising a great product. Has there been discussion about what we hear in this committee a lot is how to get that great product out there in the world to the consumer? So things like aggregation, transportation, marketing, slotting, all those issues come up. And I wondered, is there a place for the Vermont State College system to have that kind of degree too going forward?
Right, Representative Turnbridge, this is the program. The new program will have two concentrations. One would be on the dairy side, that's the dairy and animal science. The other one would be on the food entrepreneurship. The food entrepreneurship concentration will focus on that particular aspect, the market, the business side of the house, and training students. They can choose which side they want to go to. It will cover all of that, yes.
Yeah, and now really try to give students a flavor for the entire supply chain of food, and recognizing that, yes, it's one thing to produce it, it's another to get it to market, to get shelving slotting, and to how you can compete in that marketplace. So we, as all aspects of food entrepreneurship, some may wish to focus more on the business marketing side, others may wish to focus more on the production and distribution side. So our hope is to provide internships at a variety of those types of companies in and around Vermont, frankly. So yes, that is a key component.
In fact, this particular program is placed in our College of Business and Professional Studies. So it's kind of focused on the real worker and getting into the business, the market side of the whole thing. Because our past program has been so focused narrowly on the dairy side, and we had fewer and fewer students coming in. Now with these applications, and emphasizing that there is, the food chain component, there are multiple layers to it. Now we will be training people for all of those needs.
And I would just add to what Dr. Graywall has indicated is we frequently have seen in the past students who might take a 2-year agriculture degree and then stay on for a 2-year business degree, or go and take a diesel program, or go and take some degree of engineering or welding or things that are going to be relevant to them on the farm or in their work. So I expect that trend will continue as well.
The timing of the rebrand and the two concentrations, are we enrolling students for September, or is this another year out?
We hope to start our first cohort in the spring of 24. We can't start this fall because we have gone through optimization of the entire university's existing programs first. We couldn't push through the new program yet. But it is on the docket now that work is done. And we hope that it will be optimized in a way approved by the curriculum committees. The faculty do that. And but before the end of this semester, therefore, we would then put it in the catalog. So start recruiting students and hopefully start in the spring.
Other questions?
Yeah, you had a question.
Representative Rice?
Yeah, can you talk about the combination of the sort of hearing that the number of dairy students is lower and lower, selling the milking herd, but then maintaining as one of the two directions for the two-year degree as dairy animal science? And were there any conversations around a different kind of agriculture for one of those?
Right. So Pat, maybe that you could bring the historical component and then I will share my perspective.
Certainly. We analyzed a lot of different enterprises, a lot of different angles. We also looked at the fact that we're in middle of Orange County, which has a plethora of dairy farms of varying varieties, organic, heifers, or excuse me, Holsteins, as well as, oh God, you know, the brown ones. I'm blanking, but, and so while we sold the herd, we are leasing the farm to a neighboring farm. They are using our barn for their dry cows. And then we have one student remaining in the program we're teaching out, but we have other students who have interest in knowing more about milking, and they're going right next door to that farm where they are milking. They have a milking herd and frankly, milking using more modern technology than we had on the farm. Just because of continued deferred maintenance. So the expectation is that those who wish to pursue a dairy livestock track will have experiences, not just exposure to animals on the farm, because we'll be bringing in beef. We want to do beef grazing. We'll be working with goats. Ayresbrook Farm is right down the road in Randolph and one of the larger goat farms in the area. We'll be looking at deep bedded hogs and other aspects so that they will get a variety of animal experiences, both on the farm, but mainly through internship trips. We take field trips now to all different types of farms to give students that exposure. So that's the opportunity, as well as, again, you know, we're minutes from Vermont Creamery. We have Freedom Foods right down the street. There's a lot of different food manufacturers and food related companies that throughout Vermont, as you all well know, and get exposure to students to those businesses as well.
So I think what Pat has mentioned, this is true, and that's where we are. The number of dairy farms have decreased in Vermont over time, and student interest also declined. So, but there is still interest in dairy overall. So we are continuing to offer that program and adding, it will be dairy and other animal science concentration. So if more people are interested in goat now, and then they will get, you know, there is overlap of learning in terms of animal nutrition and management of the animals and such. So that kind of, the legacy is continuing, and Vermont is still big in that area. But then adding the other concentration is that expansion.
By the way, Guernsey was the one I was looking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Templeman.
So as a small ruminant farmer, it's a real challenge these days to find facilities to do animal processing for sheep and goats. I'm just hoping there's some overlap, as you mentioned, in the processing realm as well. I saw beef being highlighted, but it's the beef farmers who are my competition for that spot in the slaughterhouse. And just looking forward to the day where it's a lot easier for me to, you know, and this goes to education, you know, having young people who are practiced in cutting a sheep or a goat.
Right. So that's, you know, it's kind of building from the dairy side, the beef side, and entering into where the agriculture industry is going, where the interest is emerging. So yes.
So you have flexibility in your model.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yeah, right. And this lab would be commercial scale, as Pat mentioned. So there would be opportunity for small farmers to come in and, we would make that happen, that you could actually use this for your own purpose.
Let me know if you need any sheep.
Yeah.
Can you refresh our memories on the timing of the meat processing lab?
Right. So right now we are start to develop the engineering scale of the architecture, the development of how it would look like, what different components will be in it. And simultaneously, we are costing it out. With all that's happened with the markets, the cost is going up and up. So that's our new number is about $1.3 million. It will cost us to build that, food grade type lab. We don't have all the money yet, but we are working fiercely to looking at wherever the grants might be that could support this kind of work. And we hope to have it ready, as soon as we have enough money to find a vendor who would come in and build it. So, Pat, you have a better estimate of the timing?
No, I think that's as good as it gets. I mean, as you very properly explained, I mean, the supply chain issues are biting us on this project as well as finding contractors to do the work. So, our hope was this spring we could start construction, but it's a little unknown at the moment. But as soon as we get the money together, absolutely.
And we are committed to this project to the extent that, when we get money from the legislature, we have no way of going back, right? So that's the commitment that we have. It's good that we got this federal grant, so the meat director will be hired. So as soon as they are hired, they will be put in charge of designing the lab and working with the architects to make it a real good experience for the students. And my own background is in also agricultural sciences. It's in entomology, and I taught at Ohio State for 16 years. So it's my passion. I grew up on a farm also. I milked buffalo instead, not cows, and had all through my education, practically I was also working on our own farm, small farm. So our commitment to this program, reinvigorating it, is strong, but it had to be aligned with the changing needs of the agriculture.
Any other questions? No? I think the only thing I would sort of throw in at the last minute here, recognizing that we're about out of time, is just wondering if you might have more to say, Pat, maybe not today, but at some point, just about the larger workforce programs that you're working on. I'm thinking our committee deals with forestry as well. And we probably don't need to hear about everything you're working with, but if there's anything that you can share with us, either quickly now or would like to come back another time.
Sure, happy to come back anytime, Chair Durfee, but we do have a forestry degree that Dr. Graywall could speak to if he'd like, as well as we've recently started up a new arborist apprenticeship program, just as a side to hit that arborist market. But that forestry program is growing pretty nicely. I think we've got up to at least 16 students in there now, and that's only 3 or 4 years old. So it's getting some great traction. And more opportunities through short-term training, but I'd be happy to come back anytime you would like.
Thank you. Representative O'Brien.
Thank you. I just was curious. The one outlier or phrase I certainly don't know much about is deep-bedded hogs. And in the Vermont Food Systems Bible, there's a section on swine, but I would love to know how that sort of rose to one of the 6 categories to really focus on. In that, I don't think in this committee we've ever had a hearing on swine or deep-bedded hogs, and so maybe we've completely missed missed the ball on this one.
Well, our steering committee had several subcommittees who did a lot of financial analysis on various different enterprises. And through that process, hogs came up, swine, pork production generally. Hence the desire to look at that element of production. What can we do around swine for the benefit of Vermont? And that's, I guess, the most background I could give you now. But
Great.
Yeah, if I may add something more to this discussion overall, is that the way this program is now repackaged, it will open up a lot of opportunities to collaborate with CTEs across the state, because there are a number of agriculture programs that high school students access as well. So there are some of these components could be done at the high school itself. And it will, our university is moving towards a hybrid model. Therefore, the lecture portion of this could be accessed at the farm itself. If somebody is a farmer trying to take courses, or from a business, from home, and then for the practical pieces, they will have to come to the lab and or to the farms as required.
Well, thank you very much. Representative Graham, just joining us, who is the longest tenured member of our committee, and some of you visiting may not have met him. If you want to just quickly introduce yourself.
Rodney Graham, represent Williamstown and Chelsea.
All right, okay, thank you.
My daughter-in-law works for you.
Yes. Yeah, she is awesome. She works directly for me.
Yeah.
She's just amazing.
And
Michelle's one of a kind, Representative Graham.
You're on there. Hi, Pat.
Good afternoon.
And then Representative Pearl, who is a graduate of the Vermont Tech, and, well, Representative Pearl, introduce yourself.
Hi there. Representative Pearl from Danville, represent Danville, Beecham and Cabot. Yeah, I'm a graduate of the 2+2 program, so was at VTC for 2 years.
Wonderful, thank you for what you do. We are proud of our alums.
Thank you.
Great. Well, we'll wrap it up there, and our committee will be done for the day. We've got the House at 3:00 today.